Hello, and thank you for watching our video. I hope during these trying times that you and your loved ones are and continue to remain healthy and safe. My name is Paul Patinka, and this presentation details the use of tessituragram analysis and application on the 2020 Texas Music Educators Association, or TMEA, choral selections. This research was conducted with Jesse de Hoyos and Dr. James Rodriguez at Texas Christian University in an effort to better understand how tessitura functions in a choral setting and provide practical application tools for music educators. To begin, we specifically chose to evaluate the TMEA musical selections because of the size and influence of the TMEA Conference. The TMEA Conference is one of the largest music education conferences of its kind in the world and invites world-class composers, performers, adjudicators, and clinicians to work with high school students and educators from across the state. The selection process for ensembles is highly competitive and considered a significant honor for high school student performers to achieve. Students first compete in regional auditions which, depending on the size of the region, may feature 2 or more rounds. These auditions utilize different selections in each round from the repertoire to be sung at the conferences, as well as sight reading to evaluate a student's preparation for the concert. Students who pass these regional auditions are then invited to compete against students from other regions for a place in one of 15 ensembles that rehearse and perform at the TMEA Conference. During the TMEA Conference, students rehearse for 3 days with nationally recognized conductors and composers, often adding additional repertoire not used during the auditions as well. The conference culminates in a concert featuring these works and celebrating the students' effort and skill. Prior to the regional auditions, many universities and private organizations host all-state choir camps to help students prepare their repertoire and hone their sight reading skills. The schedule for these camps is often vocally brutal, combining the social aspects of a summer camp with the intense rehearsal schedule of a professional ensemble. One such camp featured roughly 14-hour days and culminated in 9 hours of sectional time and 8 hours of combined rehearsal time over roughly 72 combined hours. In addition to 17 hours of rehearsal, the camps also feature shouting, camp songs, and social activities with highly involved vocal use. Anecdotally, many of these high school students with immature instruments and technique leave these camps hoarse, incredibly vocally fatigued, and struggling to phonate. In addition, though not necessarily relevant to the tessituragram discussion, it is worth noting that the selected composers for the TMEA All-State Mixed Treble and Bass Choral Music only feature 1 composer of color and 2 female composers. Ingotita first used tessituragrams in his article evaluating Wolfgang Mozart's aria from Don Giovanni, Il mio tesoro. Ingotita combined the rhythmic duration and pitch frequency of the aria to better evaluate its true tessitura, considering the sustained F4 that repeats throughout the work. John Nix further expanded on this, combining the musical tessituragram with a voice range profile to evaluate individual students' fit with the aria itself. Matthew Schloneger expanded this research even further in his Van L. Lawrence Fellowship research to use real-time measures while a student sings to better understand an individual's tessitura with the musical tessitura. Today, we will be discussing 2 of the 3 research questions that we asked. First, how might tessituragrams be utilized for successful voice placement in a choral setting? Second, can we utilize tessituragrams of choral works to successfully pick repertoire for an ensemble? Third, we will continue to look at vowel analysis in the zona di passaggio, as defined by Miller, as a means of quickly evaluating the difficulty of choral works for immature voices. To begin, we looked at each selection and determined the shortest rhythmic figure in the vocal parts of the piece. We used this information to build a spreadsheet with the measures, beats, and subdivisions to accurately record the duration of each note. Tempo changes were noted and assigned beats per minute. We then wrote out each pitch value in an Excel sheet for its full duration. Finally, all musical notes were converted to hertz. As an example, we see Sergei Rachmaninoff's piece, Bogoro di Siedievo, from the Vespers. The musical selection on the left shows the pickup measure of the piece. On the top spreadsheet, we see the original input of the piece with the measure number, beat designation, and subdivision. To the right, we see each part broken down as they appear in the score, and the beats per minute on the far right. Below this spreadsheet, we see the duration in seconds, which was multiplied by the frequency being sung to determine how many vibrations actually occurred on each subdivision. While this method does not reflect the singer's experience of each subdivision, it does provide a fairly accurate measure of the objective frequency and duration being sung by each singer. We then found the average frequency sung per part, including recovery time when not singing. We then also determined the average frequency being sung without recovery time. For this research, we defined the tessitura as the range of pitches between the average frequency with and without recovery time, as a means of trying to capture the actual experience of singing the piece based purely on the written music, and then the experience of actually singing it. Young singers typically do not utilize recovery time in the same way that a professional singer might, leading to that time being used for talking, writing notes, or otherwise not preparing for the next phrase to come. While this definition of tessitura is still a work in progress, we believe it helps to combine the theoretical and lived experience of the music into a metric that is useful for analysis and teaching preparation. This slide displays the end result of the analysis on the spiritual Come and Go to That Land, arranged by Brandon Waddles, for each vocal line, including vocal dose and approximate musical pitches. Based on our analysis, we've presented a few suggestions for the choral director to determine which part their singer may best be auditioning on. Someone who plans on singing tenor 1 on this piece should have an easy and comfortable high range and stamina with good access to their falsetto. While this may seem obvious to the seasoned conductor, having an objective analysis helps to ground this observation and provide useful information to the younger conductor pursuing new scores. This slide displays the end result of this analysis on the piece Kirer by Agneta Skolt for each vocal line, including vocal dose range and approximate musical pitches. Similarly, we have presented a few suggestions for the choral director to determine which part their singer may best be auditioning on. Someone who plans on singing soprano 1 on this piece, for example, may want to prepare their vowel modifications to be more open around the secondo passaggio, and avoid singing overly dark or heavy in the middle voice where the tessitura of the piece lies. Again, while this may seem obvious to the experienced teacher, noting how the piece's tessitura lies squarely in the middle voice is a critical piece of information to understand. In conclusion, adolescent voices are typically not as stable as mature voices because of the rapid changes associated with puberty. In addition, singing a voice part for many hours on end that is not suited for the individual may be harmful to their vocal health and enjoyment. This is especially true considering the blending nature of choral singing and the precision that comes with singing in an ensemble. Teachers can help prepare students by knowing the tessitura of pieces before they begin them and assign voice parts more successfully. As a result, students may experience more successful auditions. Further research is warranted to develop an electronic means of tessitura analysis to streamline this process and more clearly define the metrics mentioned earlier. Continuing this research, we will be looking at vowel analysis in the zona di passaggio as defined by Miller and rating them on a sliding scale to their natural facilitation for timbres associated with Western classical choral singing. We also hope to develop more universal application of tessituragrams for choral settings. Finally, we hope to use this research as a guide to direct composers about tessitura in vocal works and steps that they might take to facilitate easy, healthy singing in young choral singers, where individual technique may be difficult to manage or teach in a group setting. Here is a list of our references. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of this virtual conference.